In the sterile fluorescent-lit hallways of the Pentagon, a decision was reached that defied the relentless march of modern military evolution. Billions of dollars carved from a budget that usually chases the invisible and the futuristic were redirected toward the ghost of the Cold War. The F-15 Eagle, an airframe that first tasted the sky in the 1970s, a time of slide rules and analog dials, was not being retired, it was being reborn. While the global stage is dominated by the frantic race for stealth with China's J-20 and Russia's Su-57 aiming to vanish from radar screens, the United States Air Force made a choice that felt to some like a step backward. The F-15EX Eagle II carries no stealth coating, it does not hide. On an enemy radar screen, it glows with the intensity of a bonfire in a dark forest. Yet the hangars are being prepped and the orders are being fast-tracked. To understand this, one must look beyond the gleaming titanium and the roar of the engines. One must look at the fatigue. By 2020, the silent crisis of the American fighter fleet had reached a breaking point. The existing F-15C and D models, the workhorses of domestic defense, were quite literally fraying at the seams. These aircraft had stood watch through the Reagan era, through the fall of the wall, and through the long decades of the global war on terror. In the quiet corners of maintenance bays, technicians were finding structural cracks in the longerons, the very spine of the jet. The ticking time bomb was no longer a metaphor. It was a logistical reality. Every day, these aging birds scramble from bases in Alaska and Oregon to meet Russian bombers probing the edges of sovereign airspace. It is a grueling, repetitive mission. The obvious answer to simply replace them with the F-35 Lightning II carried a hidden poison. The F-35 is a masterpiece of low observability, but it is an expensive one to maintain in the air. At roughly $36,000 per flight hour, using a stealth masterpiece to intercept a routine patrol is like using a surgical scalpel to cut firewood. It is a waste of a finite resource. The military planners had to ask a question that sounds like heresy in the age of high technology. What if invisible isn't what we need for the long haul? What if the future of air dominance isn't found in hiding, but in presence and endurance? The F-15EX Eagle II is the answer to that silence. It is a 21st century brain transplanted into a legendary 20th century body. Boeing took the lessons learned from decades of international service and supercharged the platform for the American theater. The sheer physics of the machine remain staggering. It is built to carry nearly 30,000 pounds of munitions. To put that in perspective, it is a missile truck capable of hauling 5 times the payload of an F-35. It can sprint at Mach 2, 5 over 1,900 miles per hour, crossing the American continent in the time it takes to watch a feature film. But the speed is just the surface. Beneath the skin lies a digital nervous system, so advanced it makes the earlier stealth platforms look like relics. The heart of its survivability isn't a lack of radar signature, but a mastery of the electromagnetic spectrum. The EPA WSS, the Eagle Passive Active Warning. Survivability system is a digital shield. It doesn't try to hide the jet, it tries to hide the truth from the enemy, jamming, spoofing and confusing the very sensors that claim to see it. The engineers designed this airframe with a 20,000-hour life. This is a commitment that spans generations. An F-15EX rolling off the assembly line today could theoretically be patrolling the skies in the year 2055. It is a bridge built of steel and silicon designed to last until the grandchildren of today's pilots take the stick. There is a certain weight to this decision, a realization that in the chaos of a near-peer conflict, quantity and persistence have a quality all their own. The Pentagon didn't just buy a plane, they bought time. They bought the ability to keep the skies guarded without bankrupting the future. Because the F-15EX shares 70% of its DNA with the older models, the transition is seamless. The hangars are already there, the tools are already in the chest. The mechanics already know the feel of the bolts. In the high-stakes game of geopolitical chess, the move was unexpected, while the world watched the invisible America reinvested in the invincible. This isn't nostalgia. It is a cold, calculated recognition that sometimes the smartest way forward is to perfect the path you have already mastered. The Eagle isn't just back, it never truly left. It was simply waiting for the world to realize it still needed its wings. The shift in strategy becomes even more profound when one examines the stealth mythos that has dominated military doctrine for 30 years. Since the Gulf War, the phantom-like silhouette of stealth has been the gold standard. But in the hushed briefing rooms of 2024, a different reality set in stealth is a door kicker, not a weightlifter. The F-22 and F-35 are designed to slip through the cracks of an integrated air defense system, silent and lethal. But once that door is kicked open, who stays to hold the ground? Who carries the heavy burden of a prolonged engagement? The internal weapon, base of a stealth fighter, are small, cramped by the necessity of a smooth outer skin. They can carry only a handful of missiles. In a high-intensity conflict over the Pacific, those missiles would be spent in minutes. This is where the F-15EX transforms from a relic into a strategic pivot. The Pentagon realized that in a major confrontation, they didn't just need Ghost, they needed a missile truck. The vision is a symbiotic dance. F-35s and F-22s fly ahead invisible and observant, acting as the eyes of the fleet. They identify targets from the shadows and data link that information back to the F-15EX, which sits miles behind safely out of range, but bristling with 22 air-to-air missiles. The Eagle II becomes the heavy artillery of the sky, firing at targets. It doesn't even need to see with its own radar. But the most jarring revelation came during the 2024 exercises at Eglin Air Force Base. In simulated red flag scenarios, the F-15EX was pitted against digital recreations of China's J-20 and Russia's Su-57, the very fifth generation threats it was supposed to fear. The result was a shock to the system. The F-15EX didn't just survive, it dominated. Its EPAWSS electronic warfare suite proved so potent that it effectively blinded the sensors of its stealthy opponents. In the modern arena, being invisible to radar is one thing, but being able to manipulate the enemy's digital perception is another entirely. The Eagle II's radar and advanced AES system spotted the threats at ranges that rendered the enemy's stealth advantages moot. It was a victory of processing power over physical shape. Beyond the tactical, there is the inescapable logic of the ledger. The flyaway cost of an F-15EX sits at approximately $80 million, comparable to an F-35. However, the true genius lies in the total ownership cost. Because the infrastructure for the F-15 already exists globally, the Air Force didn't have to build a new world to support it. The first F-15EX took flight in February 2021. By July 2024, it was in operational service. For a modern defense program, this speed is unheard of. The F-35 took 20 years to reach full capability. The F-22, nearly 15. The Eagle II moved from contract to combat ready in 3.5 years. It bypassed the development hell that swallows billions in taxpayer money and leaves pilots flying outdated airframes while waiting for a future that keeps slipping away. This efficiency is why the world is suddenly watching with renewed interest. Israel, a nation that views air superiority as a matter of existential survival, didn't hesitate. They increased their order to 50 aircraft, knowing that in the crowded hostile skies of the Middle East, the Eagle's raw power and range are irreplaceable. Indonesia, Saudi Arabia and Egypt are following suit. They aren't buying a 50-year-old plane, they are buying the most refined air superiority platform ever built. In Beijing and Moscow, the arrival of the Eagle II has caused a quiet recalibration. They spent decades and billions trying to solve the problem of American stealth. They built radars to find the F-22. They built missiles to track the F-35. Now they face a modernized version of the very beast they thought they had surpassed. An opponent that is faster, carries more weapons and possesses electronic teeth that can tear through their most advanced digital defenses. The F-15EX isn't just a placeholder. It is a statement that the United States is no longer chasing technology for technology's sake. It is a move toward pragmatism, toward the realization that in the next great conflict, the winner won't just be the one who hides the best, but the one who can sustain the most devastating fire for the longest period of time. The air is thick with the scent of jet fuel and the hum of high-frequency electronics as the first squadrons of Eagle IIs take their place on the flight line. They are ready. And for the first time in a long time, the shadow of the Eagle feels longer and heavier than ever before. As we look toward the horizon of 2027 and beyond, the F-15EX Eagle II begins to reveal its true purpose. It is the only aircraft capable of carrying the future's heaviest burden. The Pentagon is currently developing the Hypersonic Attack Cruise Missile HACM, a weapon that moves at 7 times the speed of sound. This missile is a behemoth, a jagged shard of technology too large to fit inside the sleek internal base of any stealth fighter. Without the F-15EX, this revolutionary weapon would have no home in the fighter fleet. The Eagle II becomes the essential bridge to hypersonic warfare, launching strikes from 1,000 miles away long before the enemy even knows a thumb has pressed the release button. There is also the matter of the empty seat. The F-15EX features two cockpits, a design choice that many initially questioned in an era of increasing automation. But in the evolving landscape of the Pacific, that second seat is becoming the most valuable real estate in the sky. While the pilot focuses on the art of flying and survival, the officer in the back acts as a battle manager. In the very near future, the F-15EX will not fly alone. It will act as the mothership for collaborative combat aircraft, autonomous loyal wingman drones. From that second seat, a human will command a swarm of unmanned fighters, projecting force into dangerous zones without risking another pilot's life. It is a fusion of human intuition and robotic expendability, a combination that no single-seat stealth fighter can manage with the same depth of focus. This flexibility extends into the realm of the invisible war, electronic warfare. With the Navy's EA-18G Growler production lines winding down, the Air Force is eyeing the F-15EX as a potential airborne electronic fortress. Its massive engines generate enough electrical power to run the most power-hungry jamming pods in the inventory. It can fly into a conflict zone and literally tilt the electromagnetic playing field, drowning out enemy communications and blinding their surface-to-air missiles, creating a corridor of safety for the rest of the strike package. The geopolitical ripples of this deployment are already being felt at Kadena Air Base in Japan, as the last of the legendary F-15C models, the Grey Eagles, that stood watch for decades, departed in 2025, the arrival of the EX sent a chilling message to regional adversaries. It signaled that the United States is not retracting its claws, it is sharpening them. The Eagle II provides the endurance to patrol the vast distances of the South China Sea, a mission where the limited range of smaller stealth fighters often requires a vulnerable umbilical cord of tankers. Even as the Air Force looks toward the next generation air dominance NGAD program, the mysterious 6th generation fighter, the F-15EX remains the anchor. With the NGAD program facing budget scrutiny and design delays, the Eagle II ensures there is no capability gap. It is the insurance policy for American air superiority, a guarantee that no matter how long the future takes to arrive, the present remains firmly under control. This is the ultimate irony of modern military history. The aircraft that was supposed to be a relic of the past has become the indispensable foundation of the future. It proves that in the cold hard logic of war, brilliance isn't always found in the newest invention, but in the most resilient one. The F-15EX stands as a monument to pragmatic innovation, a machine that doesn't just meet the threat of today, but has already been prepared for the threats of a decade we haven't yet reached. As these giants bank into the clouds over the Pacific and the Atlantic, they carry more than just missiles and sensors. They carry a renewed philosophy of defense that power is most effective when it is reliable, sustainable, and overwhelmingly present. The world changes, the technology evolves, but the sky still belongs to the Eagle. The F-15EX reminds us that in the theater of conflict, the most dangerous opponent isn't always the one you can't see, it's the one you can't stop, no matter how hard you look. It is a testament to the fact that while stealth is a tactic, dominance is a choice.